what you call the alt-left is the same as neo-Nazis?
Those people, all of those people, excuse me, I've condemned neo-Nazis. I've condemned many different groups, but not all of those people were neo-Nazis, believe me. Not all of those people were white supremacists by any stretch. Those people were also there because they wanted to protest the taking down of a statue, Robert E. Lee. So, excuse me, and you take a look at some of the groups that you see, and you know it if you were honest reporters, which in many cases you're not. But many of those people were there to protest the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. So this week it's Robert E. Lee. I noticed that Stonewall Jackson's coming down. I wonder, is it George Washington next week? And is it Thomas Jefferson the week after? You know, you really do have to ask yourself, where does it stop?
Okay, so I kind of messed that up. That was a different screen, but I'm going to go ahead and play the next one, which is
Charlottesville. They showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as the, and you had some very bad people in that group, but you also had people who were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name.
Okay, so that's basically the gist of it. And you know what? I'm kind of on that side of things. You know, I don't think they should be taking down a whole bunch of statues either, like that, because of, you know, things that might have happened before. I think at the time, I think I need to turn this off. Yeah. So yeah, I think at the time, I think Dylan Roof, that whole issue had come up, where he went in and killed, I think it was 9 people, or, you know, a bunch of people in a Baptist church down in South Carolina. And at this point, they were trying to take down the statue of Robert E. Lee because he was the general for the South. And, you know, if you listen to him speak, excuse me, if you listen to his side of it, that was his only option. In his mind, he didn't want to take up arms against Virginia. So his only other option was, I guess, when the South came to him, he let them know the same thing. That was his reason for taking the job. But for some of these people out here and down here, you know, you listen to them. If you take a time to listen to them, it's not so much, you know, when it comes to the Confederate flag and Robert E. Lee and these symbols of the South, of the Civil War, for the Confederacy, you listen to them, it's more of a heritage thing. You know, I'm thinking that maybe some of these people's granddaddies had granddaddies that was probably in the war, right? And I thought about my granddaddy, actually my papa, Douglas Johnson, out of Maryland. But back to this other thing, I can understand if your heritage was in the South and you had family members who fought for the South, because you got to understand, this is like a country divided, fighting against each other. You know, they called it brother against brother, you know, this, that. I mean, that's pretty much what you were looking at when you looked at Robert E. Lee. He didn't want to fight against his brother, although in a bigger sense, he was definitely doing that. So when you have that, and then everything you see that reminds you of kind of where you came from, I can understand you saying, look, man, hold up. And you don't even have to be in the KKK or a Nazi to even feel that way. You may quietly have to have your memorabilia of your family tucked away somewhere. Or maybe not. Maybe you just say, hey, look, this is where I came from. But either way, that's where they came from, so I can understand that. And the way I can understand that is, my pop, he was a war hero during the time of the war against Japan, where that when we went over and bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The way I understand it, they were occupying certain little islands, and one of the islands was Iwo Jima, and his I think his ship went down somehow, and they were in the water for like, to hear other people tell it, and in a lot of these stories you didn't even hear about until after the man died, right? All I know is that's my pop, man. He had the most beautiful voice, just a deep voice, commanding presence, just like my grandmother. It was like two power couple. That was like a power couple. They both like leadership material. But what happened was, because they were in the water for so long, there was, it was almost like you needed to have some kind of will to keep going, or what's the point? So what my grandfather, what my pop did was he sang, and they listened to the sound of his voice just to know where the central position is, and kind of to stay together, this, that, and the other. Long story short, a lot of those guys survived. A lot of those people went on to have children, grandchildren, great grandchildren. Just off of, I'm thinking maybe just the will to survive. Now, juxtapose that to what the war was about, right? Pearl Harbor, they came in, ransacked, boom, hit a military base. We went over, dropped 2 bombs, 3 days apart. Atomic, one was uranium, that was what, Little Boy. They called it Little Boy. And the other one they dropped on Nagasaki was called, Fat Man. Okay, so you got Little Boy and Fat Man. Little Boy was dropped August 6, 1945, 8:15 a.m. Uranium. It's a uranium bomb. The reason they used that is because they knew it was going to work. See, Fat Man had plutonium in it. That was more along the lines of a, not experiment. They knew it was work. They knew how it was going to work. They both ignited over the city right before it hit the damn ground. But they had to ship these things like far from Los Alamos to like Japan. It took 10 days. So they in a meeting with Stalin. Truman's in a meeting with Stalin and Churchill. Truman doesn't know that Stalin knows that they're going to drop a bomb, but Stalin doesn't know certain things, right? So they in this meeting, dude, they trying to get out of the meeting. They trying to like negotiate terms and stuff. And, Churchill's sitting over there, like, whoa. They were all negotiating, man. They were like, look, man, Japan, they like, because we dropped in and we were just getting dealt with, kind of, you know what I'm saying? And the Japanese, man, they didn't play. They'll take your ass out. They'll just be like, all right, boom, just shoot them in the back of the head, boom. Go watch that Peter Jennings Hiroshima video, man. It's very graphic, And it's one of those videos like, well, how can you let that be on YouTube if you don't let some of this other stuff on YouTube? I'm just telling you, if you want to check it out, go check that out. But be, if it's only if you can, handle some graphic stuff. All right. It's about an hour and 8 minutes, I believe. Okay. So it's kind of interesting that some of the characters in this story, because you got Truman, right? He's the president because Roosevelt died. He died in was it April 1945, I believe. And so he took over. Man, he had two dudes. One dude's name was Stimson, right? He wanted more of a peaceful solution. But he had this other dude named James Burns, Byrnes, Burns, right? This dude, he didn't care, man. He was like, yo, man, let's get that bomb straight, dude. And so he was always ready. Stimson was like, come on, dude, we got to have some kind of normal solution. This is going to take out a bunch of people, right? But in the end, and I hope I can get to it if I don't forget, Stimson wound up having to write something, saying how it was more along the lines of, do we risk killing 1 million people, having 1 million casualties, where, who knows where that number came from. But you saw what happened in Vietnam. A lot of people can die, in these wars. But anyway, back to the story. So if you remember, the guy who helped, let me show some of these people. I got to show some of these people's faces, dude, because some of these, y'all need to see them. Let me show you what Mr. Burns looks like. And that's the other funny thing, man. Some of these characters, it's almost like these characters are characters out of, The Simpsons. You got Stimson. You got, hold on, you got Mr. James Burns, like in The Simpsons. He's like the guy who like runs the nuclear thing, right? I just keep going back to how some of these cartoons seem to have an inside scoop somehow. I don't know how. Okay, so check this dude out. He his face, you can kind of see how you can get a Simpsons character out of this dude. Drop that chin. You can't have a chin in the Simpsons. All right, where's this dude at? James Burns. There we go. Let me show you what this dude looks like. I'm gonna show his face. No, that's Leo Szilard. That's the next dude I'm gonna show y'all. Hold on, dude. What happened? Do y'all see that? Okay, yeah, you see it. I'm sorry. Well, that's the dude. That's James Burns. That's the Hawk. Okay. I'm gonna see if I can find. You know what? You can go look up Truman's, I don't know, War Department head, Stimson, I believe his name is Stimson. Go check him out, man. He seemed like a decent dude, at least, you know what I'm saying? But if you remember, there was a guy that was helping Albert Einstein. And the reason I know this is because my daughter had, every year I'd like for her to do something on Hungary because her mother is Hungarian. And, I kind of like for her to learn up a little bit on some of her, other side also. So when we go back, she has some kind of reference. Well, I came across this information on this dude named Leo Szilard. Well, Leo Szilard was the dude that convinced Einstein that nuclear, was it fusion or fission? One of them, the nuclear bomb was possible, but in a different form. He was like, well, how do you contain it? You know, like the way Einstein was thinking, he was thinking like it would take too much energy to cause the reaction in order for it to, but this Leo Szilard, he's the Hungarian like physicist, he's like, yeah, but, and so they worked on it together and they batted ideas off of each other. Well, he figured it out, right? The government got wind of it. He's like, okay, yeah, we can use this. Leo Szilard, he wanted a meeting with the people who were in charge of like making the final decision to use this in that capacity of like a bomb. He was like, but the problem is that they had him go talk to who? James Burns. James Burns, I can picture that dude in the meeting like, oh yeah, oh man, oh yeah, you're right. Oh my goodness, that would be so bad. No, tell me about the dead bodies. Destruction, agony. Oh man, all right, thanks. Hey man, hey, peace out. Hey, don't let the door slap your ass on the way out. He was talking to the wrong dude. And this dude, he was kind of squirrely. Let me show you Leo Szilard, the Hungarian. One of my heroes, if I could call him that, is another Hungarian. I have to do a video on him too. I think I might have done one. I have to, let's get this out of the way. Boom. There you go. Good old Leo. Unfortunately, he was born in Budapest. Cool. Oh, he died. Died before I was born. Yeah, stay tuned for that other video. Don't forget to like the video if you're still watching, because this is just some inside baseball, okay? You had people all along the way who was like, come on, man, we don't need to do this. So they dropped one, August 6th. Devastation and destruction. Oh, man, it was crazy, dude. You had, who else did you have? Who did you have? You had, oh, my gosh. Don't let me forget Mr. George C. Marshall. George C. Marshall. Hey, listen to this for a second. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's some dirt that happened. But along the way, you're going to have a lot of people fighting for the right cause. It's just, are their voices being, suppressed? And sometimes you got to wonder, are they, who's fighting for the right thing, man? It's the information gets kind of thick, especially back then. They didn't have too many outlets of information like we do right now, man. Something happens anywhere, you can hear about it. So listen.
At these highest levels of decision making, did anybody ever object to the targeting of civilians?
Basically, only one person objected directly before Hiroshima, and that was ironically General George C. Marshall, the Army Chief of Staff, who on May 29, 1945, with Stimson, argued that if America dropped the bomb on a city, the opprobrium, or the blame cast upon the United States, might last and destroy the American image. Marshall never raised the issue again, so far as we know, during World War II, and after World War II, never admitted that he'd raised the question.
Hold on.
It was the target.
I gotta hear that again. Oh, hold on, I went too far.
At these highest levels of decision making, did anybody ever object to the targeting of civilians?
Basically, only one person objected directly before Hiroshima, and that was ironically General George C. Marshall, the Army Chief of Staff, who on May 29, 1945, with Stimson, argued that if America dropped the bomb on a city, the opprobrium, or the blame cast upon the United States, might last and destroy the American image. Marshall never raised the issue again, so far as we know, during World War II, and after World War II, never admitted that he'd raised the question.
Wow. Wow. You know what? D-Train can be a little bit squirrely sometimes, man. D-Train be getting all up into the information, you know. So I had to go look up this George Marshall dude. Like, who is George Marshall? You know what I mean? I got that for you. I just had to go to the Wikipedias. I had to go to the Wikipedias. I just wanted to see his picture. I just wanted to see the man's picture. All right, so this is the dude. Okay, George C. Marshall. All right. Under Harry Truman. Goodness gracious, man. Preceded by James Burns. Secretary of State. Okay. Secretary of Defense. Third United States Secretary of Defense. The third one. Man. I don't know what his and the guy did say quite ironically or something like to that effect. So I wonder if he had to turn or if they got to him and say, "Yo, man, you know, don't ever say that again." You know, it's quite possible. So look, man, I'm just saying, you know, eventually, and you got to look at it like, you know, they weren't going to give up. And I'm not saying, you know, we should have made him submit, but his logic and the squirreliness of Burns and just look, man, they made it so that the president didn't know anything, know when it was gonna. It was like they didn't need his authority. That they kind of made that workaround too. I'm not letting Truman off the hook because he knew what was going on. He was trying to bomb that place as soon as possible because of the information that he was getting through Burns, you know. So I'm not saying that everything and these people were going to fight until the emperor told them not to, and he went on. These people had never heard his voice before, and he made a statement on the radio to his people. It's like, "Yo, man, we're gonna shut it down." So here's my point. Not everything that we do historically is going to be good, but just because some people did some nefarious things on some of the higher levels or whatever level, I truly believe that my grandfather, my pop, I believe he was, despite everything I just spoke about, he could quite possibly be part of the reason a lot of people made it back to then have more children or have children or to not have children, but made it back to do whatever. They made it back. And that's evidenced by the fact that during his funeral, so many people came out of so many different places, man. It was just like, whoa, you know, from what I understand, because I was younger. I don't think I went to the funeral. Um, but my parents told me about it, and I'm proud of that. Who knows? They might have made it home anyway, but for so many people to come out and tell their story on his behalf, um, it says a lot, and I'm proud of that. So you extrapolate that out, and you have history of your family in the past, good or bad. They fought for something, and maybe they made it so that somebody made it through who could tell the story to live on and quite possibly make a difference. They're not going to forget. And should you forget, it's good to see where we came from. It's good to see what, say, wow, we've been through a lot together. Still going through it. But at least it ain't like that here now. And I have to specify because it's still going on. Slavery is still going on now, today. And we really have to keep within perspective, how far we've come in a real sense. And yeah, how far we have to go together. But if we keep dividing and letting these, media outlets divide us, then that's just gonna work against, I believe, what we're really fighting for, and that's, true equality and a country, a nation. It almost seems like if we're gonna fall, it's gonna fall from what we're doing to ourselves. Like we're shooting ourselves in the foot. Jobs are up. African American employment is up, or the unemployment numbers is the lowest it's been since they've started doing the records. That's all I'm saying, man. Just calm down. Stop with all the, hey, he's a racist talk. I don't believe it. He's hired way too many different kinds of people. He's got, too many friends of different influences. Yeah, he might say stuff, the wrong way, and you might take it the wrong way. Look, if all day you in meetings with, the Norway prime minister, and then somebody says, hey, well, who should we take people from? You might say the same country of the person you just finished having all these meetings with. Norway. You just finished getting out of a meeting with Norway. Yeah, the man's like, I mean, maybe the first country he thought of was Norway. Yeah, go roll the tape back. Go rewind the tape. So just take it easy, man. You start taking down monuments and statues, how long before they justify taking down the ones you want kept up? I kind of want Silent Sam to stay up. I do want Silent Sam to stay up on UNC's campus. I'm going to put that on record right now. I want it to stay up. It's a piece of history. Hell, it's been there forever. Since I was there before. So, how about you focus on erecting statues of the things that you value? If they don't let you, find some private place where you can do it, or find a place where you can buy and you can set up your own museum, or buy some land that people can visit, set up your own monument. I don't see the point of taking other people's monuments down. I guess if it's in the square, I guess, you know, your argument. But dang, man, Robert E. Lee, he was from there, dude. He was from there. That's why he didn't fight for the North, is because he was from Virginia. If there's one place where the man should have a damn statue, it should probably be in Virginia. Where was it? What, Charlottesville? Was he from Charlottesville or somewhere near there or something? They probably got him all over the place. They probably like enough. I don't know. Maybe there's so many Robert E. Lee statues. They just like enough is enough. I don't know, man. You know, like McDonald's, they got one on every block. I don't know. You know, all I'm saying is, you know, if he's from there, around there, you know, let him have a damn statue. Put up your own statue. Stop defacing people's, you know, property. You know, it's not a good look. Anyway, that's all I got. This is D-Train. It's just a little bunk I've been brewing on. Anyway, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And I'll be right back at you later.